Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to round 5 of season 4 of our F125 Cadillac career mode. Yes, we return this weekend to the Barcelona circuit, of course, for the Spanish Grand Prix. If you missed out on the video that went live earlier on in the week from Imola, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. It's safe to say, as we've made our way through the first quarter of this season, we have learned a lot so far. It really does look like the battle this year is going to be between ourselves and Ferrari, but Ferrari have their own problems. Charles Leclerc, Lando Norris, of course, both of those drivers want to win a world championship. Charles Leclerc already has 3 to his name, to his credit this, in this career mode. But Lando Norris is not making it easy for him early on this season. It was, however, Charles Leclerc that took back-to-back victories in the last 2 races, and in doing so has a 17-point buffer now at the top of the championship. But we're coming up to a few tracks that I'm hoping are going to serve us quite well. Barcelona, Canada, Austria, all really fun venues inside this game where you can get some pretty crazy racing. But I think I already know that Carlos Sainz is going to finish 3rd this weekend, because his record so far is 3rd, 13th, 3rd, 13th. I don't know how he's managing it, but fair play to the Spaniard as well there, of course. If you're new, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed to the channel. A massive thank you to everybody. We have ticked over 148,000 subs. We are less than 2k away from 150k there. Also, if you want early access to all of these videos, you can click the join button as well for just £1 a month. And last but not least, drop me a follow over on Twitch. We're trying to hit 10k over there as well before the end of the year. But yeah, without further ado though, let's return here to Spain.
It's a Catalonian qualifying for you today. Welcome along to Spain, to Barcelona, and wherever you are in the world, do you feel the need? The need for speed?
Well, as we head then into qualifying here, we've already seen lap times dipping below the 1-minute 10s in practice, but I think if you absolutely hooked it up, there could be a 1-minute 7 in this car this weekend here. We'd have to get the lap completely nailed out in Q3, but you never know what might happen inside F125 then. Of course, Q1 should be a formality now, but I know the first weekend I tried to skip it, that I will end up then getting knocked out down in P16 or something like that. So, yeah, I'm going to keep leaving the Q1 runs in because it's also great to kind of use this time to learn just how much pace there is in this car, how much speed you can carry off some of the corners there. As purple immediately through Sector 1. That's not a bad way to start. Barcelona, though, this is really a circuit that I have fallen in love with on F125. It just seems to suit this game's handling model really well. And is finally quite fun to drive on as well. Obviously helped by the removal of that final chicane, of course, a couple of years ago. But yeah, I think just obviously where these cars now are super grippy as well, it does make it really good fun to try and hang on around the course of a lap. As purple sector 1, purple sector 2. We are currently 8/10 up on Paul Aaron. But I don't know what time he's ran so far in this session. A 1:10.5 for the young Estonian. As we make our way climbing up through the top of the circuit then. Probably can leave the ERS wide open until we get back around towards the start-finish line there. Up towards the line, 109.2. We actually go 0.003 of a second slower than our teammate Piastri. And there we are then by the end of Q1. Oscar Piastri there, a brilliant lap just to go a little bit quicker up at the top of the order. We will end up 2nd ahead of Lando Norris there, but Hulkenberg once again in that Audi car slotting himself up inside the top 10. Both Audis once more make it through into Q2, as both Aston Martins out in Q1. They'll be disappointed to lock out the back row there. Both V-Carbs, Jack Doohan and Pepe Marti, all out in Q1. And again, our Formula 3 graduates of Nicola Sullivan and Tim Tramnitz, they both squeeze by into Q2. Well, I know you can't take too much of a read from Q1, but it does genuinely feel like Ferrari have still got just a little bit more pace over Cadillac early on this season. But this weekend, though, maybe, just maybe, Oscar and I are going to be able to try and deal a bit of a hammer blow punch. We are going to have to maximise every result we can this season if we want to try and get the better of those reigning world champions. We know just how good Ferrari are inside this game. Yes, it feels really odd to be saying that based on what Ferrari are up to currently in real life. But again, I mean, you are so committed through Sector 1. Only using the brake pedal once there, and again we go purple. I mean, 165 mile an hour apex speed through Kamsa is utterly ludicrous. As well, just cutting the apex there slightly in towards Sector 3. Really got to try and get the car wedged over the curb, and then as we make our way back up towards the top of the circuit, again, we'll try and keep the ERS open as best as we can. I don't think we actually want to use it through that final corner, because it gives you just a little bit of understeer, but on the run back to the line, there we go, dipping down into the 108s. The first driver to do a sub-69 second lap. Nice. And there we are then. Yep, we were the only driver to dip into the 108s then by the end of Q2. Gasly goes second, just ahead of Sainz there. So Ferrari, admittedly, not a million miles away, but still not quite, are they just hiding something before we get into Q3? Tim Tramnitz, though, brilliant effort there to make it into the finals round of qualifying once again, as Oscar Piastri barely squeaks through, but Tramnitz has managed that by just 1/1000th of a second ahead of Franco Colapinto. Ollie Behrman, Solov, Hulkenberg, Ocon and Jack Crawford all out. So yeah, I think Esteban Ocon will be disappointed to be almost a second away from his teammate Andrea Kimi Antonelli. But I still believe this is going to be a fight for pole between myself and Oscar. We need to nail this lap. Well, maybe my original estimation of a 107 here was slightly too optimistic as we get ready for our first run in Q3. But yeah, definitely can get down into the 108s again. Definitely, I reckon we could set like a mid-8 again if I absolutely hooked it up. This is just a really, really odd circuit to try and get a lap completely nailed there. But open up the ERS and the DRS at that final corner. 215 miles an hour as we make our way down in towards turn 1 there. Could probably have broke slightly later through that first corner, but we carry good speed. Try and then scroll off as little as you can through turn 3 and use a little bit of ERS through the exit as well, up to 8th gear. To make our way in towards turn 4, just tipping it in a little bit early. But that should allow us to get back on the throttle as well. We did hesitate just a little bit though, as we plunge down the hill. Nice and tidy, nice and safe. This first run, as always, is just about giving yourself a good benchmark. But with how high the pressure is already mounting this season, getting yourself a good benchmark and getting yourself a good benchmark are two very, very different things. On the anchors, 100-meter board. That was nice through there. Didn't allow the car to run too wide on the exit. And again, we've gone purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2. Try and carry the speed up towards the top of the circuit. Still got a little bit of ERS that we can use up on the run back around to the line. Careful of that bump on the inside there. Don't run wide off the exit of the corner. 108.6. That is P1. Well, there we are then. P1 by 0.4 of a second ahead of Charles Leclerc there. Very, very happy with that lap. Carlos Sainz, of course, he always goes well here at his home event, running up in P3, just ahead of George Russell and Andrea Kimi Antonelli there. So 5 cars from 5 different teams making up your top 5. But yeah, I mean, Leclerc on that final run got pretty close, and then we just moved the bar even higher. 108.3, I mean, it's so fun when you get these laps really hooked up right towards the end of Q3. I think the biggest thing is, of course, where so many laps now are so short on the F1 game, you've just got to use the ERS completely everywhere, especially as the cars get more efficient. You'll notice I'm on the ERS pretty much on every single corner exit. But yeah, that's a great way to start, though. We've got 33 more laps to try and survive here. Let's do this thing. It's race time.
Welcome along, everyone, to sunny Spain, specifically to the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalonia. So many great moments in Formula One history have been written at this very track over the years, including Michael Schumacher's first win for Ferrari back in '96. That win was in the rain. We might have better weather here today, but we're just as overjoyed to be at the Spanish Grand Prix. It's an updated track at Catalonia, and the popular opinion in the paddock is that we never wanted the chicane in the first place. That's now been gone, the final corner is much faster, and at 2.9 miles and 14 turns, we await the Spanish Grand Prix. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Isaac Hadjar lines up on pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Russell, Andrea Kimi Antonelli, and Piastri, Norris, Gasly, Tsunoda, and Tim Tramnitz, Colapinto, Behrman, Nicholas Soloff and Hulkenberg, Ocon, O'Sullivan, Pepe Marti and Paul Aaron, Doohan, Stroll, Crawford and Gabriel Bortoletto rounds off the grid. It's almost time for the lights to go out, so let's head down to the track where preparations are underway.
Well, both Aston Martins and an Aston Martin Junior making up the back three spots on our grid then today. So really not been a good weekend for them. But with 33 laps ahead of us, a lot can change as we head into the race. I want to start on the mediums. I think a lot of the AI are going to be on the soft compound tyre though, ready for the start of this race. But the hard tyre, ever since the most recent patch, seems to just be the meta now on F1 25. So we'll see how far we can take the mediums. Hopefully they'll come back a little bit stronger towards the end of the stint, and then obviously I think everybody is going to be on the hards to the checkered flag. Let's see what we can do though as we wait on the grid on those 5 red lights here for the Spanish Grand Prix. Oh, a mighty long hole, but it is lights out and away we go there, and Charles Leclerc has rocketed straight past me. One is trying to fend from him on the run into turn 1, but we're going to get no chance of that. Can we stick alongside the MasterCard McLaren? Oh, of Carlos Sainz there, I thought we could, but instead we locked the rears up, and Antonelli now squeezing around our outside there, so a disastrous start to this race. We're going to immediately try and move the brake bias a little bit further forward there to avoid rear locking, but that has been a very, very scary one. They were almost spinning out in front of the entire field at the start of this race, and really not the ideal one that we wanted there. Oscar Piastri, he's had a good start though. He needs to help us out in the Constructors' Championship. Too many weekends so far this season. He has ended up being a little bit anomalous, but I was hoping that even if we lost that lead to Charles Leclerc at the start, that I would stay inside his DRS range. That is definitely not going to happen. And while Charles Leclerc now knows he's got to try and run away at the start of this one. We saw issues for Ferrari back at Imola, of course, with Lando Norris there, trying to obviously give himself the best strategy to win as well. But Charles Leclerc still did reign supreme, and hopefully for him this weekend, that is not going to be as big an issue with Lando Norris having a pretty terrible qualifying. It doesn't really look like he's made much of an impact at the start either. Leclerc will lead by the end of lap 1. Piastri is also on the mediums, so that's quite interesting then from our teammate. But anyway, yeah, we've got to try and keep up with Andrea Kimi Antonelli. I was going to say, we seem to be running a little bit less downforce in a lot of cars here, so just trying to hang on through the twisty bits, but surely now we're going to be able to get a run on Antonelli. Look at the speed, 221, as we make our way down into towards that first corner, as Carlos Sainz then makes the move on Charles Leclerc for the lead of the race as well. That's exactly what we like to see. So Charles Leclerc then, now only 1.6 seconds in front of me, and reassuring then that he's not as fast as I was hoping. There we go then, Antonelli very, very quick early on, but I think as soon as that Red Bull gets in the dirty air, he begins to struggle as Sainz, to his credit, he's already starting to pull away from Charles Leclerc. Like I said, Carlos Sainz, every single series, every single race I come back to Barcelona, he is rapid inside this game, and it is quite cool to see for him. But yes, Leclerc tries to hang on inside his range. I need to try and get in the range of Charlie Boy. I mean, Carlos could still be a World Championship threat for all I know. If this pace McLaren can keep up, then never say never inside this game. But of course, with these 16 race championships, it is so important that you start the year strong. I know Leclerc, it took him 3 races before he chalked up his first win. But still, of course, yeah, very, very consistent. And obviously leading the World Championship with a healthy buffer now. As he just seems to be, I think he's the only driver, isn't he, so far to have podiumed in every single race there. But trying to drain a little bit of battery to make sure we stay inside that DRS range, which we have just about done. So now I can try and recharge the pack. ERS strats. It's something I've learned doing Creator Series. They are so, so important inside this game. You know, to keep charging at the pack whenever you're not trying to go for an overtake. Oh, there we go. I think Charles Leclerc, I think he's just dropped out the DRS range of Carlos Sainz then, so that is critical for the McLaren man, that he's got him out of the range, and of course Carlos will know that Charles Leclerc and I probably a lot more interested in making sure that we outscore each other here than we are about the McLaren. Could he look to try and chalk up an easy victory this afternoon if Leclerc get locked into battle with myself. Team still worried about that. As you can see how much Charles Leclerc is pushing, throwing the rear end of that Ferrari car out to the left-hand side as we make our way through turn 4. And you can see now immediately Sainz is taking this opportunity. He'll be told to push this lap, build up a bit more of a buffer as we just get the car away from that curbing just in the nick of time. But surely Leclerc now, he's going to be under pressure by the time we get back in towards turn 1. Just see there, those soft compound tyres as you get towards lap 10. Even with all the upgrades on the cars, even with how much better tyre wear now can be, and obviously temperature management as well, the AI, they still just can't do anything about it. And this is why I always use the medium tyre for the first stint around this venue. Get the power down out of the final corner. Surely now this will be the run on Charlie Boy back in towards turn 1 there. And look at that, Leclerc will defend, but he knows it's a pretty futile exercise. Can we now get him out of the range and try to keep up with the Spaniard? Well, if we can get back to P1 then before the AI make their pit stop, it will have definitely been worth it to start this race on the harder compounded tyre. I thought that as soon as I saw the race start, or the strategies the team were recommending, I knew that this would have to be the game plan there. As what is Sainz doing? That was an incredibly late move to the inside there, but broke far too early in towards turn 1. And around the outside we will go then, and into the lead of the Grand Prix for the first time since lap 1. Just like we did with Leclerc, we've got to try and immediately get him out of the range. But lines like that at the top of the circuit will not help us. But as we get towards our pit-in lap then, things looking even better for us at the moment, because now Bortoleto has found a way around Carlos Sainz in this race. As immediately the Spaniard will peel in, so will Charles Leclerc there just before Oscar Piastri was going to get the jump on him. But Bortoleto trying to have a look down the inside at turn 1. We will hold firm. I'm diving into the pits at the end of this lap, so wait until then you can have the spot and get on obviously up the road. I mean, a pretty disastrous start to the race for Gabri. I mean, he'll just be hoping that a safety car doesn't come out just yet there, as what on earth was that? Trying to get down the inside of turn 4. He almost did an Esteban Ocon versus Max Verstappen on me. I'm sure Bortoleto has just been told to calm down by his team because he's dropped back quite dramatically through the middle sector of this lap. But, I mean, that is so risky for the Brazilian at the moment. Like I said, we're pitting at the end of this lap anyway. He's going to get, back ahead of me. It's not obviously a spot. As we just understeer slightly there in towards pit lane entry. Make sure we get the car slowed down, though, as Bortoleto's in anyway. What was he trying to do in this Grand Prix? The thing that's really worried me about that is, of course, we've lost time there. That's going to expose us to the undercut from Carlos Sainz a little bit more, so I got no idea. I would assume the AI going over to hards. Gasly makes his way through. Tim Tramnitz in that Audi up to P3. But where will Carlos Sainz be then? He's still just a little way behind, as here comes Hulkenberg on the run in towards turn 1. No, we've held on against the Hulk, so I mean, both Audis here having a really good race out so far. But Sainz is on medium, so he's going to be very quick. And they should be quick right the way through to the end of the afternoon. So Hulkenberg there, I think, just sensed the fact I was on cold tyres. Thought about having a look to the inside, but won't make it happen. Well, I have really hoped that we'd see Audi kick on in this series a lot more than they have done. But it does finally seem like they're starting to get their act together here as Tim Tramnitz into the pit lane. What a start to Formula 1 life it has been for him as well there. You've got to give him credit. He has done a fantastic job so far. It's Carlos Sainz, new fastest lap of the day there, going over a second quicker than me that lap. I think we're going to be under pressure from the Spaniard pretty soon. Maybe at the very end of this lap there as just try get the car in the right ERS setting there through the first couple of corners. As Carlos again immediately wants to try and have a look. He will do everything he possibly can to win this race. I need to do everything I can though as well, because Leclerc is right up our trumpet again. There we go, Carlos. Surely not having a look around the outside there. Nope, we'll think better of it as we got yellows out. That seems to be an Alpine down at the rear of the field. Is that Ollie Behrman out of yet another Grand Prix inside F1 25? Looks to be a fairly simple mechanical failure. Nope, it's his teammate, Jack Doohan then, that falls to the wayside this afternoon. Through through that final corner. We've got to try and break the toe from Carlos, but it's such a long run. Back in towards turn 1 there is Leclerc now. Actually getting a bit of a run as well. We'll let Carlos through on the inside. Charles Leclerc will think about it. Saw Carlos there trying to give me a bit of a squeeze. I wasn't actually trying to get back around his outside, but we will manage it. As we will try and put all that dirty air over Charles Leclerc's front wing. No, but it hasn't really worked. Yellow's out, luckily, just at the nick of time. Otherwise, Charles Leclerc was going to send it. He might send it on the exit of the corner. They're almost pushing into the grass. Goes Charles Leclerc. So, really does seem like on those mediums, he is getting back into this fight. But again, as we battle each other, Sainz will try to scamper away. Oh no, we just made a little mistake there, and that's left us vulnerable to Charles Leclerc on the run into turn 1. Don't think it's in our best interest to fight him this time round, unless Sainz now starts to pull away. But yeah, just got a little bit of a wobble through the final couple of corners at exactly the worst time on this lap. Russell and Piastri are not a million miles away either. You would hope that these harder tyres will become the better one to be on by the end. But although the medium tyre wear was quite high, never really felt like they fell off during that first stint. I do think the medium might be the best tyre to use around this circuit. And that's a little bit of a shame for us now. Oh, here we go. Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc for the first time since very early on. Trying to take the lead back in this Grand Prix. But look at that, Sainz. Definitely trying to be firm with it through that first corner. Of course, the former Ferrari teammates. And it is Leclerc once again that comes out on top. So Charles Leclerc, yeah, really struggled early on in this race, but now bolting on those mediums, that Ferrari has come alive again. And back up to the lead for the first time since about lap 6. Right, come on, Carlos, you got to do it this time round, buddy. Otherwise, I'm going to be queuing up to try and get a run past you. I mean, look at this, we're almost at VMAX by the time we get to T1 there. As Sainz this time round tries to get the run around the outside of Charles. Can we try and get involved as well then, as Carlos Sainz will make the move happen. Leclerc finds the grip to slot back in, but we will use a little bit of battery to try and have a look down the inside by the time we get towards the top of the hill. Similar to the battle we saw early on there, as Leclerc gets himself on the grass. How on earth did Charles Leclerc gather that back up again? If ever you don't believe the AI have got traction control in this game, that should be a reminder that they absolutely do. As I was trying to give him a bit of a squeeze, but there was definitely a car's width still on the circuit. But what a save from Charles Leclerc there. Well, George Russell is slowly bringing himself into this fight as well late on in the day. And well, I can't remember the last time we saw Mercedes really battling for the victory. It must have been Zandvoort last season where Russell did claim victory. It was the last time we saw them looking this good. Trying to get a run on Carlos Sainz again. Over 220 miles an hour. By the time we get in towards turn 1, but around the outside we will go. And up then once again to the lead of the Spanish Grand Prix. 7 laps remaining. A lot can still change here. But I think Charles Leclerc now has just decided he's had enough, sitting behind Carlos Sainz. As we've just been trying to recharge the battery pack, it has allowed Leclerc just to close back in once again here late on in the day. As we all know, this final couple of laps are going to be super important here. You never know how tight this championship could be come the end of the year. So as Charles Leclerc tries to get a run to my outside in towards turn 1, will we be able to keep the car alongside him? Yes, we will. Make sure I hug that apex so we don't give him too much of a squeeze. But that is super important. We know now, even if Leclerc's got the DRS, that we can defend in towards turn 1. Around the outside, up in towards turn 4. Surely he's not going to try that one again. Still going to try and find the grip there. I'll make sure I give him the room. Sort of banging wheels down the hill. Looks like we've had the other Alpine then of Ollie Behrman go for a bit of a spin late on in the day. So hopefully that doesn't bring out a safety car or anything like that. I think it's too late for a safety car, isn't it now? We just about get back around the outside of Charlie Boy before we make our way back up the hill. Will he get a run through Kampsa? We will again try and use just a splash of DRS. A splash of ERS even, just to give myself the run. But 2 more laps remaining here from the Spanish Grand Prix this afternoon. It has been a dramatic fight right the way throughout. At different stages, it looked like one driver was going to dominate. But out of Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz and I, all 3 of us here still covered by a second as we get ready for these final 6 miles of the Barcelona circuit. Leclerc, huge run on me as we make our way back into towards turn 1 there. Nothing I can do that time round, as he clearly commits a lot more battery to trying to make the move happen. But as long as we stick with him on this lap, surely we're going to be able to get the run back in towards turn 1. I would say that might be, well, the only disappointing thing about the Barcelona circuit is if the start-finish line was down at the end of that straight in towards turn 1, it could mean, obviously, that usually the final lap is decided by the time you get in towards that first corner. There aren't really any other places to overtake around this circuit, but as we make our way through the final couple of corners then, Charles Leclerc has had a brilliant recovery through the second half of the day to bring himself back in towards that fight. But as we activate the DRS, we got the battery wide open as well. Will we get a run to the outside of Charles Leclerc? Yes, we will. And back to P1 then late on in the day. Make sure I got the car up in the better... whoa, huge snap through turn 3. Really had to try and hang on to the car that time round. I'm going to leave it in hot lap around the rest of the venue because I think we should be good enough to then have the speed everywhere we need it. Just defend the inside line into any corner we have to. But that was super scary down through turn 3 there. Leclerc still trying to hang on right behind me. If we make a mistake, he will still be there ready to pounce if he can do. But as we make our way up the hill, Charles Leclerc became our first repeat winner of the season last weekend. We are going to join him in the 2 wins club. It is still wide open, but I think quite clearly the battle is more likely going to be between Charles Leclerc and I as we make our way through this season. Lando Norris has had an absolute stinker this weekend, but that does not matter to me. Through the final corner, it is going to be P1 here in Barcelona, our 2nd win of the year. We are here to fight.
Absolutely awesome. Isaac Hadjar takes the checkered flag and wins.
And they led every single lap of the race. It was a light-to-flag victory, and that is total dominance.
It's time to bring out the bubbly and spray it around. It's our podium celebrations. And it's Isaac Hadjar who triumphs today. He's claimed that top spot with an outstanding performance.
Well, there we are then. Win number 2 of the year, but with 3 cars covered by less than a second. This championship is going to be so wild and unpredictable. Charles Leclerc once again gets another podium, and, well, I said at the start Carlos Sainz would come 3rd, and that is exactly where he finished. George Russell, Oscar Piastri, just ahead of Andrea, Kimi, Antonelli, Tsunoda, Gasly. Lando Norris be devastated down in P9. No idea what happened to him here, as Franco Colapinto picked up the last point, just ahead of Nikola Solov and Tim Tramnitz there. Jack Doohan retiring from the race, and yeah, Lance Stroll and Gabriel Bortoletto a long way back, both a lap down. They will have to go back to the drawing board and work out just what went wrong here. Taking a look though at our World Championship standings, Leclerc still has a 13-point buffer up at the top of the table. We are now 20 points clear though of Lando Norris, as Piastri still another 12 points behind him. So both former McLaren drivers seemingly number 2s so far this year. Sainz with his strategy of 3rd and 13th is now back up to P5 overall, just 1 point ahead of George Russell, with Antonelli, Gasly, Tsunoda and Ocon inside your top 10, and then still you can see Solov, Stroll, Tramnitz, Doohan, Aaron, Hulkenberg and O'Sullivan yet to score a point. Constructors-wise though, for the first time really all year, we make good gains on Ferrari, back that gap down to 25, so we want to try and make sure that we can keep that battle alive as well. Mercedes still in 3rd ahead of McLaren and Red Bull, but I think that battle for P3 as well is going to be fascinating over the course of the campaign. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you leave a like, get yourself subscribed, and we'll be back very soon when Formula 1 returns ready for, I believe it's the Canadian Grand Prix.